This is the Play Your Position podcast, where we huddle up, call the plays, and inspire you to run your ball into the end zone. Are you ready to score more game-winning touchdowns in your life, business, and career? Then listen up, because it's game time, baby. Now, here's your host, Mary Lou Kaiser.
It's graduation season here in the States and perhaps in other parts of the world. My son recently graduated from university with a bachelor's degree in marketing. And like many schools are still holding virtual events, his graduation was virtual, so I got to watch it over YouTube. And that was okay. I got to see him. It signified the end of his 4-year studies as an undergraduate. But I have to admit, I was a little jealous when I started seeing people I am friends with on social media who actually got to attend their child's graduation in person. So be it. The states are a confused mess right now around who can be open and who can't. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because it is a long and dark rabbit hole. What I did want to talk about today, keeping with my theme of meaning for May, is this notion of graduating. Graduating from school is a big deal. When we graduate from high school, we are now officially done with our studies unless we choose to continue at the undergraduate level in college. And then once you graduate from college, you then have a choice about heading on to graduate school where you can get an advanced degree. And in recent years, with the proliferation of online education opportunities, questions have been tossed around about whether or not a college degree still holds weight. Does it still mean something? And I can tell you from the look on my son's face when he walked across the stage and posed for a formal photograph in his cap and gown with some of the elders at his college, that degree absolutely 100% means something. It means he committed himself to 4 years of hard study. It means he sacrificed 4 years of his life to engage in intellectual pursuits. It means that he now has more job options than someone, for example, who only comes out with a high school diploma. And I come from a family of educators where higher ed was always part of the conversation. So I will continue to stand behind the importance of an advanced degree for the people who that makes sense for. Now, as things continue to morph and change in a post-pandemic world, a lot of questions continue to be asked about what does school mean moving forward. Earlier this year, I had an in-depth conversation with Nadav Zimmer. You might go back and listen to that episode. I'll put a link to it in the show notes page. And his mission right now is to eradicate standardized testing from the American public school system by year 2040. And that's an ambitious goal because standardized tests in this country have been a huge part of a person's schooling. We're talking about the SAT, the ACT, and then at the graduate level, there are a number of different tests depending on what you're going to study. The GRE, for example, and then there's the LSAT for people who want to study law, and there's one for medical school. To me, these kinds of tests no longer have relevance, so that's something that could be tossed out the window. And Nadav is certainly in agreement with me. He's the first person I've ever spoken to who is in a position to actually get that to happen, which excites me. But school and college, higher ed, lifelong learning, when do you go get new skills? Where do you go get new skills? With everything being available online these days, it seems like it's a no-brainer. But if this last year or 15 months has shown us anything, we need to be around people. There is meaning in being with the others. And yes, you can be in a cohort online, a virtual cohort. I think these are powerful. I was participating in one last fall. I taught one last fall. I'm teaching one coming up here starting in June. If you've been listening, you've heard the promotions for my Write to Grow writing workshop, and there'll be a link to that as well in the show notes. If you want to become a better writer, to grow yourself as a leader, to grow your business, to explore what's next, Write to Grow is designed for you. So definitely check it out. These virtual programs with a cohort where you show up at a certain time and you engage with each other is as close to being in person as we can get in a virtual world. Now, I have been getting out lately. Today I went on a hike, for example, and there were lots of other people hiking the trail, and it was so fun, and it felt just so normal to be out and about with other people enjoying an activity. We humans are meant to be social. We are not meant to be isolated inside buildings in front of screens. We're just not. And I am grateful, believe me, I am so grateful for the fact that I've had access to Zoom. I've been able to continue recording my podcast, conversations with people like Neville. If you just listened to Neville's episode, mind-blowing. This man is, to me, a dream of a person because he brings the best of the East and the West together, and he has a big vision for the planet, and he shows up every day. I mean, you just don't get much better than Neville Villamoria. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to it. Phenomenal. But back to my point about the meaning of graduation and graduation season, which again, we are in right now. We need to acknowledge when we've accomplished something big in our lives, like completing the requirements to get a degree, for example, like when I hit a milestone here with my podcast. I want to celebrate that. I guarantee you have a list of things in your life that are those milestone moments that hold a ton of meaning for you. There are the obvious ones, like if you're married, your wedding day, if you're divorced, when you got divorced, having your first child, if you have children, when a parent passes on. Not every acknowledgement has all these happy emotions associated with them, but they are still meaningful and they still matter. And so as I was reflecting on my son's accomplishments and the fact that now both of my children are officially done with college, I'm stepping into yet another stage of my life. I am graduating. This is my graduation season as well. And so for you parents listening, wherever your children may be, I want you to acknowledge your own graduation along with theirs. Certainly the day is about the child. It always has to be because they're the ones who've done it. But don't overlook your own graduation to a next stage as a parent when your child moves on from elementary school, from high school, from college, and if you happen to have children that go on to get a graduate degree, that as well. I think it's criminal to gloss over and minimize graduations. And I am sad that I was unable to attend my son's graduation in person, but those are the times we live in. And like I said earlier, I am so grateful that I had access to the YouTube stream and was able to watch him live, walk across the stage, have his name read, and hear his colleagues, his fellow students cheer for him as he did. And I was able to take screenshots, which was really cool, another thing. And though that's what I have. That's what I have for this point in his life. And he's heading out to new adventures. He's graduated from one stage of life and entering another one. just as a mom, I am as well. Just as we move out of constantly being sheltered in place, having to wear a mask, socially distancing, all those kinds of things. We're going to be graduating into a new stage of life post-pandemic. And the exciting thing about this is we have the ability to make choices that will impact our future. That's an amazing thing to think about. And you know me, if you've been listening to me for a while, I am an eternal optimist. I believe that our future is bright. I believe we are going to see the roaring 20s here in the 21st century. And it's going to be exciting and it's going to be fun. And opportunity is always around, always around. So don't overlook that. And see graduation, your child's, a neighbor's, a niece, a grandchild in your life as a wonderful thing to celebrate for them and also a wonderful thing to celebrate for you. This is Mary Lou Kazer. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of the Play Your Position podcast. Remember, team, it is always a great day to get out there and play your position. See you next time.
Got a great key offensive strategy you like to share? Write to us at coach@pyppodcast.com or on Twitter, use #PYP and let us know how you're running your ball into the end zone for those game-winning touchdowns.